The night she said those words, the air between us felt like it might shatter at any second. My chest tightened, my breath caught somewhere between hope and fear, and in that fragile silence, everything I thought I understood about love, loyalty, and sacrifice began to unravel. Asterisk, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of doing the right thing when it's hardest. Take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Asterisk, my name is Jacob, and for most of my life, I believe love was simple. You meet someone, you care for them, and if the feeling is mutual, everything else just falls into place. That belief carried me through college, through my first job in a small town outside Columbus, Ohio, and through the early years of adulthood where everything feels uncertain but somehow hopeful. Asterisk. Then I met Hannah. Asterisk. She wasn't the kind of person who walked into a room and demanded attention, but somehow everyone noticed her anyway. It was in the way she listened more than she spoke. The way her eyes softened when someone talked about their struggles. The way she made people feel like they mattered. I met her at a volunteer event at a local community center, where we were helping organize donations for families who had lost their homes in a fire. Asterisk, she was sorting clothes into boxes, her sleeves rolled up, a strand of hair falling across her face. I remember offering to help her, and she smiled in a way that felt genuine, not practiced, not forced. That smile stayed with me long after that day ended. Asterisk, we became friends first. It was easy, natural. Coffee after volunteering turned into dinners. Late-night conversations and long drives with no destination. She told me about her younger brother Ethan, who she practically raised after their parents passed away in a car accident. I told her about my own fears of not being enough, of building a life that meant something. Asterisk, somewhere along the way, friendship turned into something deeper. It wasn't sudden. It was a slow realization, like watching the sunrise without noticing exactly when the darkness disappeared. Asterisk, but life, as I would soon learn, rarely lets things stay simple. Asterisk, about a year into knowing Hannah, things began to change. She became distant, distracted. The laughter that used to come so easily felt forced, and the sparkle in her eyes dimmed. At first she brushed it off, saying she was just tired, just stressed. But I could tell something was wrong. Asterisk, it took weeks before she finally told me the truth. Asterisk, Ethan was sick. Not just a passing illness, but something serious. A rare condition that required expensive treatment, ongoing care, and resources neither of them had. She had been working 2 jobs, barely sleeping, trying to hold everything together on her own. Asterisk, I remember the moment she broke down, sitting across from me at a small diner, her hands trembling as she tried to explain the weight she had been carrying alone finally spilled out. I saw just how strong she had been trying to be. Asterisk, that night, something shifted in me. Love stopped being a feeling and became a decision. Asterisk, I started helping however I could. I picked up extra shifts, contributed what I could financially, drove them to appointments, and stayed with Ethan when Hannah needed rest. It wasn't enough. Not even close, but it was something. Asterisk, months passed, and the pressure only grew. Bills piled up, hope flickered, and Hannah seemed to be slowly breaking under the weight of it all. Then one evening, everything changed. We were sitting in her small apartment, the lights dim, the air heavy with exhaustion. Ethan was asleep in the next room, and for a moment, the world felt still. Hannah looked at me. Her eyes filled with something I couldn't immediately understand. Asterisk, I'll do anything for you, she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Asterisk, the words hung in the air, heavy and loaded with meaning. Asterisk, I tried to brush it off at first, thinking she was just overwhelmed, just grateful.
Oh.
But then she looked at me again, more intensely this time, and asked, even in bed. Time seemed to stop. In that moment, I understood what she was really saying. It wasn't about love. It wasn't about desire. It was desperation. It was a person who felt backed into a corner, who believed the only thing she had left to offer was herself, and it broke something inside me. I realized then that love isn't about what someone can give you, especially not when they're at their lowest. It's about what you choose to give without expecting anything in return. Asterisk, I shook my head slowly, my heart aching as I reached for her hand. There was no anger, no judgment, just a deep sadness that she felt she had to go that far. Asterisk, I told her. She didn't owe me anything. Not her body, not her dignity, not her self-respect. I told her that if I was going to stand by her, it would be because I cared about her, not because I wanted something in return. Asterisk, she stared at me, confused at first, then overwhelmed. Tears filled her eyes, not the quiet kind she had learned to hide, but the kind that come when something inside you finally gives way. Asterisk, that night. We didn't talk much after that, but something changed between us. The unspoken pressure, the silent transaction she thought she had to make, disappeared. Asterisk, the days that followed were still hard. Nothing about their situation magically improved. The bills were still there, the uncertainty still looming, the exhaustion still present. But there was a shift in how we faced it. Hannah began to open up more, not just about the situation, but about her fears, her guilt, her sense of failure. She admitted how helpless she felt, how she hated relying on others, how she believed she had to sacrifice everything to save her brother. Asterisk, and slowly, we started to find another way. Asterisk, we reached out to organizations, applied for assistance programs, started a small online fundraiser. It wasn't easy, and there were plenty of setbacks, but there were also small victories. People showed up in ways we didn't expect. Strangers donated, shared their story, offered support. Asterisk, for the first time in months, hope felt real again. Asterisk, Ethan's conditions stabilized enough for treatment to begin, and while the road ahead was still uncertain, it no longer felt impossible. Asterisk, as for Hannah and me, our relationship deepened in a way I never could have imagined. It wasn't built on obligation or sacrifice, but on understanding, respect, and a kind of love that chooses to stay even when things are at their worst. Asterisk, there was a moment, months later, when we were sitting in a park, watching Ethan laugh for the first time in what felt like forever. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over everything, and for once, the weight we carried felt lighter. Asterisk, Hannah looked at me, her eyes clear, her smile genuine. Asterisk, she didn't need to say anything this time, because now we both understood. Love isn't about what you're willing to give up. It's about what you're willing to protect. Asterisk, and sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do for someone is remind them that they are worth more than their lowest moment. Asterisk, if this story touched your heart, if it made you believe a little more in kindness, compassion, and the kind of love that doesn't ask for anything in return, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Your support means more than you know. Asterisk, and before this story ends, I have a special request for you. Comment the word hope if you believe that even in the darkest moments, something good can still find its way into our lives. Asterisk, because in the end, that's what this story was really about. Not desperation, not sacrifice, but hope and the quiet, powerful truth that sometimes doing the right thing doesn't just save someone else. Asterisk, it saves you too.